Yeah, so the picture I bought today is a picture of me and my dad playing me some music at a house that we used to live on in Chester Street. Well, no, actually on Newhampton Road, with Marines, Wolverhampton, where, was the first house I was born into. And my dad being a DJ, picture means a lot to me because it's probably one of our first memories of, I suppose, listening to music together that I actually have something tangible of to actually, kind of recollect and whatnot. And with my dad being a DJ, me now DJing and of course working in the music world. Yeah, it definitely just means a lot to me in that sense when I look back at it and think about how music continues to run through my family, my mum, my son, my nephews, me, my sister. So it's just like, my sons actually, let me say, because both of them do music. But yeah, man, it's just it just is a reminder of where I'm coming from, as well as, of course, where I'm going to. I think most people would say growing up in Wolves is grey for many different reasons. The sky, the landscape, the vibes at times. But it was also beautiful. Like I grew up in Marines. My mum worked in Heath Town. Anyone from Wolverhampton might know why that might be an issue. However, I was blessed enough to be able to walk wherever I wanted to walk and go wherever I wanted to walk. So I was also blessed to be able to have a lot of different friends from different areas that may have not traditionally talked to each other, and growing up around a lot of different people in that sense. Of course, growing up in Wolverhampton, music was always, just a big part of life. Blues and the sound system. And again, for those who aren't from the UK or from Wolverhampton, Wolverhampton has a big Jamaican-based population. So, the Caribbean influence, my family being from Jamaica was always, an influential thing. Reggae is always playing, carnival's a normal thing, fried dumplings, ackee and sawfish and cabbage and them things there for breakfast, normal like food shops here and there, normal, going carnival, Birmingham, normal. But growing up in Wolverhampton was, for me a lot of fun. Got a lot of friends from as a child that I still have now. Going to places like community centre was vital. As a matter of fact, big up Miss Lorna McKetty, because I know she's been on this platform and she was also fundamental in my journey in youth work at the community centre. So, definitely have to shout out Lorna. Yeah, man, you done know, salute. But then, youth centres, the adventure playgrounds, they definitely seemed, Wolverhampton for me growing up seemed like a place where you just knew everybody. I know, I imagine it's not like that now. But you just felt like everybody knew somebody's auntie or uncle or cousin or brother or sister, and you felt like the world was this small and everyone knew each other. But as you grow older, you get to realize, oh, I don't know you, or oh, I don't know you, oh, wow, you're so and so's people then, no way. So yeah, man, it definitely felt like a tight-knit community. There was a lot of different meeting points across the city, Heath Town, with Marines, Parkfields, and a lot of different events. It was fun, and there was good. There was a lot of good things, and as I tried to focus on, of course. But it's for my American friends, it's not just tea and crumpets. It is kind of like Top Boy. As a matter of fact, Top Boy could be Wolverhampton, to be completely honest. We have a history of, for lack of better words, criminal activity within our community. And, it wasn't unnormal to see these things. And going through life and going through lots of different experiences, I began to realize what was normal to me wasn't necessarily normal for everybody. So, yeah, man, I've seen some great, I've seen some good, I've seen, unfortunately, some bad, but blessed to be here and, of course, make it true. That's a great question, because, I don't know, when do you get started on music? Like, they say you can hear music when you're in your mum's belly. So maybe then, knowing that my mum was a reggae singer, my dad was a DJ, like, there was always reggae music about, like, as far as I can remember, which probably is back in my mum's belly. So when did I actively start getting involved in music? And like, again, growing up in Wolverhampton, if you're familiar with an event called Dance Energy, my mum was involved with that with Ivan, aka Fat Ed, big up yourself. And that was like, that, even though I wasn't necessarily involved in organising it, because my mum was, and I was, you know, there early, and I would see sound check, and of course my dad was a sound man. Like I would see a lot of things from behind the scenes that I realised now looking back that I was like, wow, that's not necessarily normal for everyone, but you know, seeing General Levy come and perform and whatnot, and you know, just going back like, and you know, being involved in the dance competitions and all them kind of things. Big up Monster because you had the Borgo champion, me don't forget. Yeah, man, it was, music was just always a big part of my life as a youngster. You know, I definitely at one stage in my life decided I think I needed to focus on school if I was going to try and elevate myself and my family out of what I considered hardship at that time. And I really went and focused on school. But then funnily enough, you know, for school and basketball at one stage, anyone that knows me again. But funnily enough, after kind of like going to university in London, being away from everybody, but at the same time, like still having a love of at that time, like garage and grime and drum and bass and jungle and UKG. Kind of, that's really when I was invested in music. I'd been recording Soul Solid sets and sending them back to Wolverhampton on Sundays off Delight FM. And it was like I became kind of known as the music guy. Like, I'm not going to say I was the guy you could come and check and get new music on CDs for, but if you wanted to know about new music, you might come and check me. Now, when do I feel like I actively got involved professionally is probably when I came back from university and DJ Springer, brought me on radio. I think it was Skyline at the time. No, it must have been Frontline. I tell her that it was Frontline because my mum was on Skyline years before and my uncle was on Skyline, and I remember I went on Frontline. Brought me on there as, you know, a little bit of a host kind of thing, like presenting radio show kind of vibes. I had a big interest in UK music at that time because I remember vividly that, like, as much as I come from the days of Soul Solid and Heartless and whatnot in terms of my musical, like listening and, you know, growing up and the Triggers and the Bassmans and the Kenny Kens and the Rest in Peace, Skippa D, Shabba, and then vibes, like I also listen to a lot of different music. So whether it was Dirty South music, whether it was like Moorish Delta 7 from Birmingham, whether it was Lippy and Skits, whether it was Klashnikov, but some of the youth, whether it was like Poisonous Poets and Low Key, Reveal and them guys, I knew about American music. I knew about underground American music as well, like the Dirty South and West, but I was finding and realizing that we had some sick guys in the UK and they weren't getting no play. I would hear 50 Cent and Ja Rule all day on the radio, but I'm not hearing one Klashnikov tune. That made no sense to me. When Murder was hard. So that's kind of my approach when I came to Spring. I was like, yo fam, I want to kind of show people some UK things and vibes on the radio and kind of spread the UK vibes a little more. I felt privileged that I knew about it and I just knew most people didn't have access to it or didn't hear it. So radio was kind of an outlet for me to be able to kind of share my love of that music with everyone else. And yeah, man, that's definitely kind of where I professionally initially started to get involved in music, and that, you know, kind of led to one thing to another, from interviews to doing like a whole hour worth of just Birmingham music and touring with Moorish 37, working with Baby J, you know, going back and forth to London, because again, I over the years developed a lot of links from partying, from networking, from being active in London. And, you know, even I remember like one of Frisco's first CDs, Back to the Lab, I think Volume 2, I you know, used to go and distribute in Birmingham. Even then, like, you know, Bashy's Your Mum CD that came with the Lollipop, I must have moved at least 200 of those CDs on the road in the Midlands. So yeah, man was going back and forth and, you know, just kind of trying to push the music scene as much as I possibly could, doing interviews and doing radio. So yeah, man, again, big up Springer, again, he definitely got me started on that trad, 100%. I would say I got involved professionally in the Wolverhampton music scene and was doing the radio stuff and that. At that time, you had people like 10 Shot, big up yourself, Wolftown Recordings, big up yourselves as well. They shared a love of Dirty South music and underground music with me as well, as I remember. And that was on like more the hip hop side. And then you had, of course, Apostle doing major stuff in EJs, DJs, and in the bassline scene, TRC. So there was a heavy bassline scene. But and again, forgive me if I forget anybody because this isn't on purpose. But then I, you know, there was a few grime artists here and there doing stuff, and you know, a few cliques. Yo, I've definitely forgotten a clique, and I don't want to forget the name of this clique. Oh my gosh! All right, so and again, TNG, big up TNG. Like you had like Macca and Menace and Prison and RB. Them man were going on with nuts, and then they went into a crew called Takeover. You had man like Higher Stakes. So we have always had some sick artists and talent, you know, and then of course, you know, Essex as well, like producers, rappers, grime artists, DJs, producers. But when I first got involved in the bassline scene, it was definitely more, I feel like bassline was running everything at that time of music, especially up north. Where Funky House was down south, bassline was where it was at. But we still loved grime, and you know, my initial impetus to get involved more in the professionally in the music scene after DJing was to say, yo, how can we make more of an impact as Wolverhampton and then as the UK period on the world. So, you know, that was kind of like the birth and evolution of Stay Fresh. I think I was talking with Apostle one time. He said I should meet someone called Despa, and we chopped it up. I think Despa had actually technically already started Stay Fresh, maybe with 1 or 2 artists. I don't think they put out any products at all or anything, but the initial idea, and then I met with him and we were like, yo, let's do this as partners and kind of just take this to a whole nother level. And, you know, it came about figuring out how we can kind of really make an imprint on the national music scene, how we can add a little bit of infrastructure and organisation to the Midlands scene. Because, you know, as much as definitely it's about Wolverhampton, we are all global people. So, you know, it's you know, trying to act local, but think globally. So, you know, okay, how can we make a mark in Wolverhampton / Birmingham / the Midlands? Okay, then how do we make a mark across the country? All right, cool, then how do we make a mark across the world? And, you know, our first release was Fresh Love, which was a pink mixtape with a bunch of artists and MCs from different ends of Wolves that traditionally didn't get along with each other, all meeting at Whitmarines Youth Club, Dunstall Hill again. Big up Lorna McKetty, because she was fundamental in that as well. But just getting a bunch of really, really, really talented individuals around the table and just trying to give them an opportunity to record, make music together, develop and grow. And, you know, we did that project. It got great feedback, great response. And, you know, we came with branding and, you know, we're professional. We were sending out emails and mailing lists and trying to really just, you know, just do this thing and make an impact as who we were. But again, as super talented people doing really fun, great, high quality music. The next release was the Woo Rhythm, and that just went viral before viral was viral. And, you know, we didn't predict it. We knew it was sick, but for it to get vocal over 150 times and, you know, get a launch party in London sponsored by Box Fresh, and we're Stay Fresh at that time. Box Fresh is a big clothing brand and they want to sponsor our party. And then you've got like P Money just there, and you got DWE in the venue. Like, these are legends in the grime scene to us, and these men are not asking for no booking fee. They're coming there for the love of what we are doing and the energy that we bring into the scene, because they of course have the same love and energy for the scene. Man like Manga, like man like Maverick Sabre, you get me, before he was Maverick Sabre, at the party going nuts to Mena's lyrics or Macca's lyrics.
Stay Fresh TV, don't know. Yo, where's the Stay Fresh man, man? Yo, let's get the rhythm bumping, let's get the freestyle.
Like, these memories are just are crazy, but when we think about it, like, it's like that happened and it's just a blessing. Big up, what's my man them called again? Again, I know I'm doing bare shout out still, but there's just been so many people that have been fundamental in the journey, and I want to just make sure I bring them up. Yeah, man, big up Shit TV, something TV. I'm gonna forget, man. I really want to say Ben and Jerry, but it's not Ben and Jerry, and it's not Tom and Jerry, it's Tim and Barry. You best put some blood clout respect on their name. Big up Tim, big up Barry each and every time, you don't know. Despite the grey hairs and the 4K beard right now, I feel I'm always I consider and feel myself to be a young person. You know, like, since a young person, I've felt a young person and I felt old, and since as an old person, I feel young. What I mean by that is, you know, my dad passed away when I was quite young, so I've always kind of had a like finiteness of life and like that kind of attitude, and because of that, I feel like I definitely feel blessed to be in pretty much any situation I'm ever in because I'm alive, period, and I know how quickly life can end. So with that said, a lot of the things I've experienced in life, which sometimes I even forget, I'm grateful for, and I look back on and I'm just like, wow. But then I also know that a lot of the experiences I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have most people don't even necessarily leave their city or their town. And because of that, like, I've always wanted to almost give back in a way. So whether it's sharing my experiences or sharing, you know, the fact that things are possible to be done, then I think that's always felt quite important to me. So, you know, whilst I was at university, I worked in a youth club to show, in my mind, you know, of course, earn some extra money on the side, but to also show people that there's people from the ends like you guys are, who are going to university and doing a maths degree while also working, while also have gone to investment banks, or also gone and visited America, or gone and lived in America, or gone and visited Napa, or gone into London and gone and rolled with this person, or gone and done in the studio with this person. Like, sometimes for us and my community and where I come from, I've given some kind of indication as to what the general idea of success was, which I'm not going to touch on too much. But to be able to show different representations of success and different pathways, I think is very important, because I think, of course, you know, we can blame it as much on media as we want, because even though there's a lot of positive media out there, you know, a lot of the negative things get highlighted. I think it's important to kind of just show a balance, man, and be able to give real life examples of different definitions of success, because again, they weren't always there for me. Like, I would never have thought about necessarily ending up even being a DJ, running a record label, unless I'd seen somebody do it. In my case, it was inspiration from the South. It was the fact from the dirty South, people like rapper like Cash Money, 36 Mafia, the fact that, you know, even when I look at it, there were people in the UK similarly doing independent things. Boy Better Know, big up Frisco again, Carl, you don't know already, my G. But people like Boy Better Know, people like Maurice Delta 7, you know, it's from the examples that I've seen come before us that kind of led me to have the vision of what I wanted to go forward and do in the future, even if it wasn't necessarily there. So, you know, even bringing it all back full circle, seeing what's happening in the music scene now, with the UK being the dominant form of music that UK people and kids are listening to, is sick to me. And the fact that the UK sound has spread so global, worldwide, sick to me. The fact that my sons are doing music, sick to me. It's, you know, it's just a continuation of the legacy, and, you know, I'm just blessed to be able to share my message again, thank you, and, you know, just be a part of life. I hate the phrase "works with," because, like, people were like, "Oh, I met him backstage. I worked with 50 Cent." I'm like, you know, there's work with, and there's, like, you know, work with, but, you know, I've worked with, funnily enough, a bunch of different people. I mean, you know, Stay Fresh, of course, you know, shout out all the artists: Maka, Maki, Mena, Pressure, Mayhem, Saf, Deadly, Casper. Definitely feel like I've forgotten somebody, but I'm never going to forget J1, SX. You know, those are some of the original members of Stay Fresh I worked with. But then as well, going on to work with, you know, Predator, C4, Swift the Beta, SX. You know, those are some of the original artists that I work with. Who did I forget? Oh, yeah, those are some of the original artists. That's my manager in the background, by the way, still kind of helping me out. He's not my manager, by the way, it's my son. But yeah, those are some of the artists I've worked quite closely with, and he was involved with managing and kind of, you know, to some extent. I said Swift the Beater as well, I hope. In terms of, you know, actually representing them and kind of bringing, working on projects with them and bringing certain things to the forefront. Other projects I've definitely worked on, and artists I've worked with, you know, people like Frisco, you know, P Money. You know, I've done stuff with a bunch of different people in the UK scene, from Chip to Rich to Bashi. You know, whether it's events, whether it's, you know, putting on showcases at South by Southwest, whether it's working with them in the UK on collaborations, on videos. You know, I've worked with a bunch of different people, is what I could say. My dad was a sound man, like I say, Lippy, passed away in 87, if I'm correct. It might have been 86 now I think about it. But yeah, he was a big sound man in the community. As I say, he was a sound engineer. He would tour with, you know, Capital Letters, one of the biggest reggae bands out of the UK. He was one of the first people to bring Dennis Brown to the UK, brought him to Wolverhampton. So yeah, man, he was just an instrumental figure in the West Midlands reggae, dancehall and sound system scene. Had one of the biggest funerals ever seen in Wolverhampton when he passed. And yeah, man, it's just insane the amount of people as growing up as a youth that would always come up to me and tell and share stories with me about my dad. So, yeah, man, even though I lost him at quite an early age, I definitely have always felt like he's been with me. And as my journey's progressed and I've become even more of a DJ in Texas and doing whatnot I do in the music scene in Texas, it's just insane to think that I'm stringing up sound boxes like he was one day, one time. So, yeah, man. Yeah, moving to America definitely was kind of like not something I foresaw myself doing, even though if I look back at the signs, it kind of was always in the cards. And when I say that, specifically Texas, because I had a love for Texas and Dirty South music for some random reason. Like some people gravitate to the east, some to the west. For me, it was the Dirty South. I just loved it. Like I love the independence. I love the grills. I love the 808s. I love the trap beats. Yeah, 3-6 Mafia, Atlanta sound, the crunk sound, and the Memphis sound as a whole. Like even the old school Memphis sound. But then when I found out about like Texas rap and like Rap-A-Lot and Scarface and Swisher House and OG1C and the Chopped and Screwed movement and how these guys were selling hundreds of thousands out of the trunk, the boot of their car, it just like fascinated me from young. So I'd always had a respect, and as I say, that's kind of even what inspired to an extent Stay Fresh, being independent from the Midlands, outside of the main region, but still being able to put on. But so I'd always had a love for Texas. Now, I'd always at the same time done a lot, and you know, whilst and some people know this, but whilst I was teaching Stay Fresh, while I was wanting Stay Fresh, I was also a high school math teacher. So working at George Dixon in Birmingham Academy, teaching in the day and then flying to London in the night time to do whatever set and then flying back at 4 in the morning, sleeping in the park. I'm getting so American, sleeping in the parking lot, the car park, before going to work and then teaching another day. Like, man, used to do some crazy back and forth, but it's part of the hustle if you really want to try and live your dreams out in that sense. But I was teaching for, a good 4 or 5 years, teaching high school math. And then I was fortunate enough to set up a separate business doing music education with my business partner, Baby J at the time, doing music education with a lot of young people in, maybe difficult positions, whether it's in foster care or whether it's in alternative education, but using music as a tool to kind of get them education or to get them back into mainstream work and such, or get them qualifications as well, like I say. Now, whilst being able to do that, that freed me up and allowed me to do something I'd wanted to do for years, because like I say, I followed the Texas rap scene and I'd heard about this big fancy festival and conference called South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. I was like, what? The biggest festival and conference in the world? Nah, I need to go there, bring the man there. Because like I said, the plan initially with Stay Fresh was, okay, we do local, we'll do national, we'll do global. I'm like, okay, we're bigger a platform than America at the biggest festival and conference in the world. Yeah. So thankfully, I actually have a cousin that lives in Austin, Texas. And so I went to go and visit him. We had a bit of a family reunion during South by Southwest. And just going there, like you'd be walking down the street. Oh, there's Nas performing. Wow. Is that Russell Simmons I just seen walking by? It blew my mind. It's called the Live Music Capital of the World, and it is the biggest music festival and conference in the world. And the only way I can usually try and explain it to people in the UK initially is think of like Notting Hill Carnival on steroids, sponsored by brands, where you can walk into one place and it's an open bar, anything you want. There's food, there's drinks, there's a sick artist, and it's just all free. You might have to wait in line, you might have to get a wristband, you might have to RSVP, but it's all around the experience, because as I've grown to know and learn, and you should maybe look up if you're not familiar with it, these brands do things called experiential marketing, where they just blow a budget on making you feel sick and having a good time, so you will talk about the brand in a positive way. The first year I went to South by Southwest, Samsung gave me a phone to use for my entirety of my holiday. I just had to give them my bank card and my ID, and they gave me a phone. Yeah, you don't have to pay no bills. You can make as many calls as you want. Yeah, use the internet as you want. I went, pardon? That's not what happens in Wolverhampton. Let me just explain. Or Notting Hill Carnival either. So it's just so mind-blowing, and it was so eye-opening in terms of the different opportunities that were potentially available. And at that time, my cousin was looking forward to retirement, and say he had a DJ school similar to the music school I had in the UK out there, and he wanted me to come and help him run it. And I was blessed enough to say, I can't right now because I have some great businesses going on in the UK, but after doing a lot of traveling that year and doing a lot of actual, reflection, I definitely saw the opportunity. I went back the next year and kind of made the move from there and started making the steps to make the move from there. And that was like 8-9 years ago now. So yeah, man, been there for a minute, back and forth, of course. And I'm sure some of you don't even know that I'm in Texas because I tell people this all the time and they're like, what? You live in Texas with the Cowboys? Is it racist there? And I'm like, yes, I live in Texas. Yes, there are cowboys, but there's also black people. There's even black cowboys. And yes, like anywhere in the world, there is racism, depending on where you go. But yeah, it's definitely a best place to be and to live. And I've definitely found a lot of opportunity. And just to share a little bit about Austin, Texas. You know, like a lot of people probably have visions of Austin, but it's known as a live music capital of the world. It has this biggest music festival and conference in the world. We have F1, Austin F1, as the only, it was the only F1 in America, so that was a big deal as well. Got the ACL festival, but then it's also like the second biggest tech hub outside of Silicon Valley. They actually call it Silicon Hills. So, you've got people like Tesla there, you got Amazon, you got Facebook, you got Google, you got Dropbox, you got Oracle, all these massive companies that have, of course, just led to the city just having a massive growth spurt. So it's definitely a great place for opportunity and whatnot and for growth. So I definitely would advise anyone that is interested in coming to Austin, Texas to hit me up. If you're interested in South by Southwest, hit me up. I do regular showcases, official showcases with South by Southwest. And that, over the years, that have been a lot of fun. So yeah, man, more to come next year. And of course, just done a super sick one. So yeah, man, look out for the recap video to that coming soon. Wolves is home in it. Like Wolves is the ends in it. Like Wolves is like family, friends, the base, cold, grey. I'm gonna end with that as well. But no, Wolves is Wolves, man. Wolves means a lot to me, and Wolves was definitely like the foundation for everything that I've gone on to do still. So definitely always representing Wolves, even though people will say I'm from Brum, I'm from Wolverhampton, and I represent that to the fullest. You don't know. Oh, okay. Let me large up my people them again. If you come into Wolverhampton and you don't go to Belfoot's in Reens, you're missing out on one of the Jamaican food gems in the ends. Yeah, go in there and say you want the steamed down sea bass with rice and peas and a couple dumplings, and then get the Irish moss as well. Cause trust me, you will not be upset. Proper things, isn't it? Yeah, me being me, I'm always about food, so yeah, I'm gonna leave it with Belfoots. See, it's these kind of questions you should have let me prepare for in advance, Carl. It's a tough one to call. I can't even. You're killing me, because man's a DJ as well, so when people ask me what's my favorite song or what's my favorite, I don't have one because there's so much music and so much genres and so much things I love, but I'm gonna try and name one, and I'm struggling. Um, um, mm, yeah, you got me on this one still. I'm gonna find one now. In my head, like I'm bouncing around between like So Solid 21 Seconds. I'm thinking Heartless Theme. I'm thinking like Woo With Them, of course. I'm thinking I Hear You Done. I'm thinking Still Got It by Saf One, a new thing. I'm thinking Chronics. I'm thinking Coffee. I'm like Taurus. I'm thinking Berries. I'm thinking Bob. I'm thinking Sizzler. Like my musical. Oh, I got you. I'm just gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna keep it new. I'm in a big mood. I dare feel you. Something it got. Yeah, Wizkid mood. That's it. Yeah, that's me right now. I'm in a big mood all the time. I hope to be a big mood. I hope to be around big moods. I hope to create big moods and big moments. That's what I'm on right now. Big moods. Yeah, big vibes. All the vibes. You don't know. It's crazy because the first misconception I get nowadays is when I'm in America and I don't say nothing. And, I just keep my face there. And then they hear my accent and they're like, hold on, you're black and English with dreadlocks. What's going on? I'm so confused. That's one of the first misconceptions I currently face. And then, of course, there's the misconception that, I must be a ganja smoking Rastafarian all the time with no sense. It's probably a common misconception. I think a lot of people don't know I have a first class degree in theoretical physics, quick stunt, and another degree in investments, and another degree in teaching high school math. So I think another misconception might be that education is not important, or I don't value education because you see me doing music or as a DJ. I think education is very important, and I think the educational background I have and the blessings I've had opportunity to be a part of have all formed what you now see as the full picture, and nobody knows the full picture because, to be honest, I'm not the best at telling it either. So I don't even have a LinkedIn or resume. So yeah, man, misconceptions I just take as opportunities to teach people and to learn about different things. So whether or not people view me in a certain way or certain light, I never usually allow that to dictate where our conversation or our relationship's going to head to. You got misconception? All right, let me show you what it is and actually open your eyes, and we'll get through your misconceptions as much as possible. I try not to assume anything about anyone because you just never know. My dad passed away when I was very young, and as I said, that kind of already made me realise the finiteness of life at an early stage, and kind of made me assume a more responsible, mature role, I would say, growing up as the oldest brother in a family of three. Now that said, again, with my mum being a singer and being, touring with a reggae band and whatnot before I was born, it just always had music in my background. Now, in terms of instilling certain values, and I'm from a generation where we had something called Saturday school, whereas I was born and grew up as a Rasta. My parents are both Rasta, so coming from a Rasta family, we were very Afrocentric and very aware of, our history of apartheid going on currently in South Africa, of, the history of slavery, of Marcus Garvey, of the Rastafari movement. And, those things were instilled into me as a child to have knowledge of self, effectively, as I would call it today, to, what do they say, to be woke. Man, I've been woke. Man, I've been woke and aware of the injustices that have been going on, of some of the different, political systems that have been in place for decades. And man, as a young person, was told of these things and experienced them personally as a child going to private schools. So I was always just shown by my parents who we were and that we were kings. So that kind of definitely always had me with that kind of positive, again, mind state. Again, I was also blessed that my mum, again, also valued education, because I remember driving past this big fancy grammar school one day and being like, that school looks mad. How do I get into there? And she's like, well, it's like £10,000 a year. I knew we didn't have that, but my mum found a way to make it happen, and I got a scholarship and was able to attend the school. And again, that's when I saw the value of education. So a lot of these things that I'm blessed to have been are definitely as a result of my parents. Like, for years, again, I thought my dad was a sound man. And he was a sound man. Yes, he had a sound system, Skipper and Lippy, but he was deeper than that. He was a sound engineer. He used to engineer concerts, and I only really even realised that the other day. So I'm like, oh, so he was a scientist, kind of like I'm a scientist. Oh, that's mad. And it's, again, as I say, it's just crazy how the circle of life continues, because now, as I say, my children are doing music, and I'm sure they'll continue to. So, yeah, man, the values from the parents are basically who made me what I am today. I'm going to continue to do the things I love doing, music. I'm going to continue to grow businesses. I'm going to continue to support my friends' businesses and my family's businesses and grow. And I know, this is probably the second half of the interview, but I want to make sure that I shout out Muse, because I think I forgot his name when I mentioned Stay Fresh. I felt like I forgot one person. And even looking at somebody like Muse and seeing what he's done with the Flip clothing brand, and where he's taken that, and the levels, going to China, to go and meet manufacturers and stuff like that. Like, these people like Muse, Raider, Mena, J1, like some of these guys were like 16, 15, 14 when I first met them. So to see how they've grown into like responsible young adults and men thriving off their own businesses, whether it's NFTs or music or clothing, like, it's just so like heartwarming for me. So again, man, big up yourself, Muse, big up Flip. Make sure you go and get yourself some Flip merchandise now. But for me to just continue to do what I love to do, which is music, working with people, networking, and just supporting other people as they need it and as I can. My dogs are my for live. My dogs are my for live. No, I'm joking. What's one quote that I live by? What's one quote that I live by? I don't see. Here's the thing. I'm not gonna say I live by a quote, but I definitely live by trying to achieve more peace, love, and understanding in all aspects of life. Yeah, that's pretty much how I try to live. I'm trying to get peace. I'm trying to, I'm trying to love more, and I'm trying to understand more. Someone tells you can't do it, they're telling you they can't do it, but you can. So just do it, innit? Like, don't think about, think about it. Don't overthink about it. Don't stop yourself from doing it. Don't create barriers as to why you can't do it. If you have a dream and you think you can do it, put the plan in place, put the work in, and go and chase your dreams and go and get it, car. Ain't no one telling you that you can't do something that you can. Remember, you can. Yeah, and the minute you believe that you can't, you can't. Well, trust me, you can. So go ahead and do it. Have you not seen my Instagram with my wool shirt and my bad boy orange sunglasses representing? Oh, you mean? I'm flying that Wolves flag, I'm flying that UK flag, I'm flying that Midlands flag, I'm flying that African flag, I'm flying that Jamaican flag. Africa's a continent, by the way, so don't think I'm stupid. Yeah, let me not get it twisted. But yeah, man, I know who I am, I know where I'm coming from, I know what I represent. So 100% always WV. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to kind of share a little bit of my story with the people then. And for providing such an awesome platform for the stories of Wolverhampton to be told. I've seen some of your interviews and I think that they're very dope. I'm honoured to be amongst the company and I look forward to seeing as the channel and the platform grows, some of the other people that you interview, some of the young people, some of the older people. And yeah, man, it's an exciting time. So yeah, man, big up yourself.